Have you ever looked at your own handwriting and just kind of cringed? Maybe someone even told you it was a mess. Well, what if I told you that mess isn't a flaw at all? What if it's actually a secret sign of how your incredible brain works? Today, we're going to decode the hidden psychology of messy writing.
Seriously, think about it for a second. Go on, grab a notebook if you have one nearby. Are we looking at neat, tidy, perfectly formed letters, or is it, a little more on the chaotic side?
Maybe you've had that moment, that little flash of embarrassment when someone asks to borrow your notes. For so long, we've been told that messy handwriting means you're lazy or disorganized. But what if that's just completely wrong?
What if all those scribbles and smudges aren't a mistake? Some pretty cool psychology suggests they might actually be a sign that your brain is firing on a whole different level. So, this brings us to our first big idea, this high-speed race that's constantly happening inside your head. It really all boils down to this fundamental mismatch between how fast you can think and, well, how fast you can actually write. Just picture it like this. Your brain is a souped-up race car just generating these incredible, complex ideas at lightning speed. Meanwhile, your poor hand is stuck in a total traffic jam, just trying its best to form the letters and keep up. The result? It's almost always going to be messy handwriting.
You know, there's actually a term for this whole thing. It's called motor cognitive coordination. It's just a fancy way of describing the link between how fast your brain is working and your physical ability to write it all down. So when your brain is going a mile a minute, it makes a really smart choice. It sacrifices how pretty the writing looks to make sure it captures the data. Getting the idea on paper is just way more important. Okay, so it's not just a simple speed problem. What's the actual logic behind all that chaos on the page? Let's really dig in and unpack the psychology of the mess.
A lot of the time, it comes down to something called selective organization. And that's just a really efficient way your brain works. See, your brain isn't disorganized at all. It's actually an expert at prioritizing what deserves your energy right now. And let's be honest, in the middle of a brilliant idea, perfect penmanship just doesn't make the cut.
And I bet you've seen this play out in real life. On one side, you've got your notebooks, total chaos, right? But on the other, your digital files and your work systems are probably perfectly structured. That's because the physical space is for getting thoughts down fast, while the digital space is where you create that long-term, meaningful order.
And this is the key thing to remember, it's not a lack of order. It's a sign of a super efficient mind that knows exactly where to put its focus.
This kind of efficiency also points to another really fascinating trait, cognitive complexity. It's that tendency to see things from all these different angles, to constantly be analyzing and updating your thoughts about something, even as you're writing it down.
And this right here, this is basically the anatomy of a scribble. First, your brain spots a new angle, a better way to say something while you are writing. So you edit the thought right there in the middle of the sentence. And what do you get? A messy, crossed-out correction on the page. To anyone else, it looks like a mess. But to you, it's just your brain's brilliant thinking process made visible.
Okay, but this whole mindset, this habit of prioritizing substance over style, it doesn't just stop when you put the pen down. Let's take a look at how it shows up in other parts of life. For instance, do you kind of hate small talk? Well, this could be why. For this type of brain, it can feel so draining and inefficient. Your brain is always looking for meaning, for new ideas. It wants to get to the point. So just like it skips the fancy loops in handwriting to get the idea down, it wants to skip the surface-level chatter and get right to the good stuff, the meaningful conversation.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important point. It's time to completely reframe what you've probably always seen as a flaw. It's time to start seeing it as your superpower.
So, the next time you look down at your messy notebook, please, don't see a flaw, see the proof. See the evidence that your brain is just operating at a speed that this ancient technology of pen and paper can barely even handle. You're not disorganized, you are literally outrunning the medium.
So the big takeaway here is really simple, but it's powerful. It's time to stop blaming yourself for your quirks. Instead, I want you to start looking closer and seeing them for the incredible psychological strengths they really are.
And that really leaves us with one last question to chew on. What other quirks do you have? The ones that maybe you've been told are flaws, that are actually just signs of your unique and powerful minded work.